As we enter December and the year coming to a close in a blink of the eye, KQ will try to squeeze in as many multi-film reviews on this channel as possible. I have caught 4 horror or horror adjacent features over the weekend which I will pair up with the gender of the protagonists in these movies. The first will be Vicious from director Brian Bertino, followed by the remake of The Hand That Rocks the Cradle from director Michelle Garza-Chavera. Vicious focused on our protagonist Polly with her eerie and ghastly travails on a single night during the Christmas festive season. From the onset, it was evident Polly was entrenched in a lot of personal problems and was directionless and was hoping to resurrect her ailing life by going back to school and do better for herself. An innocuous knock on the door of a house revealed an elderly lady who looked visibly affected by the bitter cold and was looking a bit disoriented. Naturally, Polly would invite the old lady in for a hot drink, only to be handed a wooden box, and the old lady gave the ominous warning that Polly would be killed that very night. This of course led to Polly, who had enough problems to deal with in her troubled life, to send the delirious old lady on her way and dispose of the wooden box. But like in my recent review of Dollhouse, the box could not be discarded that simply, and what followed was a harrowing series of supernatural manifestations and scary phone calls demanding poor Polly to follow instructions within a designated period of sand grains passing through an hourglass which came inside the wooden box. What ensued was a pure extract of a torture porn, as our protagonist was driven up the proverbial wall with the unruly demands the supernatural entity had made, even putting her sister and niece, who she had a strong affection for, in perils. There was no letting up for Polly as the mental, emotional, psychological, and of course physical torture kept escalating. Vicious came from the mind of one Brian Bertino, a name I was not familiar with, but surely was not a stranger to horror movie fans. In 2008, he put Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman through a barrage of physical harm from a group of scary masked assailants in The Strangers, and would provide a screenplay for the sequel Prey at Night. Thank goodness he was not attached to the dumpster fire with the new chapters done by Rennie Harlan. Bertino also wrote the screenplay for Oscar Perkins' The Black Coat Daughter from 2015 and made the highly acclaimed The Dark and the Wicked from 2020. He is not foreign to provide shocking visceral body horror to elicit the unsettling mood for key instances in his movies. Making his audience cringe was the name of his game. Someone have to let me know if Dakota Fanning had owed a big favor to Bertino or had offended him in a chronic manner. The emotional upheavals and grotesque bodily dismembering Fanning had to go through, as Polly was one of the worst I had seen the protagonist been through, Lars von Trier's films aside. Fanning, who we had explored substantially in my review of Watchers, seems to have found a niche in horror movies. He was captivating in uncovering a mystery deep in an Irish forest, and she was competent as the victim of an unadulterated horror from a truly dark and heinous source without any mean to fight back. The hourglass concept took me back to the movie adaptation of Until Dawn, but the frightening cacophony within Polly's mindscapes were, as I emphasized, unsettling to sit through. At many moments, I wonder if death is the best resolution for her. The movie made up of an all-female cast, from the voice of Mary McCormack as Polly's mother, Emily Mitchell playing her niece to a guilt-ridden old lady played by Catherine Hunter, as well as a couple of key side characters, many of whom Bertino had no qualms putting them through intense grievous harm. As I found it hard to fully concentrate on the serial harm these characters had been put through, I thought about the vicious manner of the supernatural threat, which had zero room for negotiation, before realizing it actually meant the vicious cycle of a curse that was attached to the box. Without revealing what really transpired at the end, it felt like the cycle was not going to end for any victim that came in contact to it. Vicious is a grueling movie to sit through, despite Dakota Fanning giving her all in the role of Polly. This is a 6.5 out of 10 for me. Actress Rebecca De Mornay was a name that people who grew up in the 1980s and starting to be conscious of movies from the era would remember. Her claim to fame was 1983's Risky Business, playing Tom Cruise's partner, and eventually leading to an affair with the future Mr. Ethan Hunt. She would also be remembered for movies like Runaway Train and Backdraft. However, the movie that brought her to many people's memories had to be her role as the ruthless, scheming villain Mrs. Mott in Curtis Hanson's The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. The movie entailed the vendetta Mrs. Mott possessed towards the woman who accused of her obstetrician husband of sexual assault, resulting in his life and reputation in disarray, ultimately leading to his demise and burdened her with all sorts of repercussion. It was a thriller that shocked audience at that time, especially when a suburban domestic bliss was in jeopardy from the least expected source. 23 years later, some studio execs in the 20th Century Fox Studios sanctioned a remake of the movie in a creatively barren landscape that is called Hollywood, recruiting Mexican film director Severa, who gave us the memorable Huesca the Bone Woman, to work on the screenplay by Micah Bloomberg. It was interesting to see how they transposed the story into the 2020s with the need of a competent nanny or baby sister is still very much relevant. The movie pit two of the most illustrious working scream queens we had in contemporary times, with Micah Monroe in the role of Polly, yes, the name shared with Dakota Fanning's character from Vicious, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead's Kathleen. From the cold opening, we realized that there was some history brewing with a fire that resulted in the loss of lives, and we will return to this piece of news when we got into the thick of things. Polly went to seek legal help from Kathleen, a lawyer who specialized in cases with squabbles between landlords and tenants. After the pair crossed paths, Kathleen gave birth to her infant daughter and was coping with work, a newborn, and an older daughter who she had a frosty relationship with. Polly reappeared in her life and claimed that she had been kicked out of her rental place and was seeking a new job and a new place to live in. Realizing that Polly was quite skillful looking after infants and had a solid reference, whom Kathleen had looked into, Polly was welcomed to the household with help with the baby, doubling up as a companion to the older girl, and was able to live at the pool house. Instinctively, we started witnessing the little movements Polly made in the background to unravel Kathleen and her family, but with Kathleen being the prime target. While switching from breast milk to formula milk was subtle, changing Kathleen's medication to calm her nerves was not. It left audience wondering what was the motive driving Polly, and it can be baffling as it was undulating between overtness and subtleness with her actions. It seems apparent that she was green with envy with Kathleen's blissful and successful life, and of course she wanted a husband and children for her own. Yet she sent overtures towards Kathleen herself, knowing how she was not averse to a homosexual relationship. Micah Monroe had an icy cold facade for many of her actions, and after a similar performance in Long Legs, I was starting to feel like this was the way she performs, which for these characters it sort of made sense. When she went into full crazy mode, it felt like she had distance from the days of playing victim in movies like It Follows. As for Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who resembled so much like Rosamund Pike with her blonde hair tied in French twist to show her sophistication, she certainly came a long way from Final Destination 3. She looked commanding and confident in front of Monroe at the start, but with the ongoings orchestrated by Polly resulting in her losing it, I don't think this was one of the best meltdowns I had seen on screen. Supporting the two female leads was Raul Castillo in the role of Miguel, Kathleen's husband, who seems a bit too mellow and was not illuminating as a character. There was even a meaty supporting role for Martin Starr, who still possessed a bit of that smarminess which I liked about him. The child actors were fine, with the elder daughter Emma being a conduit to many of the issues brewing in the family, though a discussion about sexuality during breakfast, out of nowhere, was a bit uncalled for. For the baby, the scene which she was left on her own on the floor, crying profusely, was a bit hard to watch, and I was anticipating what sort of horror Polly was going to unleash in that scene. The final revelation of the past of both Polly and Kathleen brought us back to the cold opening, but it felt like a bit clunky. Even the plot of the 1992 original felt a bit more credible. The final plot line with regards to dangerous driving affluence in Los Angeles, which was instigated from the start, was quite brilliantly done. I think you can retitle the movie as You Tormented My Childhood and Now I Am Back Beach. Would be more suitable than using an old IP as a way to market a decent thriller featuring two actresses that cemented their status in the horror genre. I am awarding The Hand That Rocks the Cradle a 7 out of 10. Watch out for the mini version of the Double review at the end of the week, So please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Good Boy from director Ben Leonberg earned a sparkling review from me, so go check it out what I have to say to make it the highest rated movie from 2025 so far. If it was Micah Monroe's Polly who received that creepy wooden box, she would just keep a blank face and torment the supernatural perpetrator with her own method.